Hey, what's going on? It's Beat 'em Down with Code 45, and you're listening to the Nerd Podcast Mafia. Entertainment your ears can't refuse.
Welcome to the continued podcast adventures of Superhero Speak.
But I think many of the people that love this character and that love superheroes in general have used these stories as inspiration to say, you know what? I'm going to do something good in the world. I'm going to make a difference like my hero when I was a kid.
That is my fondest memory of it, because when you're doing comic books, you want them to affect people.
Right.
You want people to care. You want to strike emotions. And I knew that Clone Saga was striking a lot of emotions.
Can you imagine Pulp Fiction starring Goofy and Mickey Mouse?
I can totally imagine that.
I'm sure somebody's written that one too.
Quarter pounder with cheese and France, Mickey? What? Royale with cheese. Yeah. I can totally.
See?
I would watch the hell out of that movie.
Yes, I gladly sacrifice up my progeny to you, almighty Marvel beast.
But Neil Adams is somewhere going, it's my time.
How do you measure success? Hey everyone, you're listening to Superhero Speak, and I'm your host Dave.
And John.
And JD is off this week, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently he dropped his iPhone in the toilet, and we're not going to ask any more questions. And in his place, we have two wonderful returning guests. They are the creative minds behind Freedom Fighter, and now a new book called Acts of Contrition. And of course, I am talking about Mike Heitkemper and AJ Fulcher. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us back.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
So, have you guys been up to anything interesting in the last 2 years?
Well, I mean, yeah, quite a bit actually. We've been carrying on with Freedom Fighter. We're up to issue 5, and going to be probably issue 10 by the end of the year. And we also just released a graphic novel. So, yeah, we've been doing a lot.
So for people who may not have heard the original episode you guys were on, can one of you give us the elevator pitch for Freedom Fighter?
Yeah, it's Freedom Fighter is basically a government-owned and operated superhero. And, of course, when the government gets their hands on anything, you can guarantee there's going to be conspiracies and corruption and crap like that going on. And so basically, he's a superhero that's constantly not only just battling evil, but he's battling the people that he's supposed to be working for, struggling against the moralities and, what's really the right thing to do and what he's being ordered to. And, the first series, issue 1 through 4, was basically like the first conspiracy, of where he was created, the fourth quarter. And, the second, story that we're in right now, which started with issue 5, is kind of like the continuing conspiracy of the fourth quarter. So
cool. And
starting
go
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Just gonna say, it's starting to touch more personal issues into issue 5. Like, you start to see more of who he is as a person. Whereas the first few issues are like the origin, and now we're starting to find out more about what his powers are, where they're coming from, and how they affect his daily life as a person outside of his job.
Cool. Was that something important for you to add this time around?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
We go back and forth a lot. We really like this character. And one of the things we like about it is that it's a classic superhero story as far as, it's try to use like bright colors and smiles and just a happy atmosphere. But, the twist here is that America is not always the good guy. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of a dark side.
I can't believe in this day and age that anybody would suggest that the government is a problem.
Say it isn't so.
I mean, you're really going out on a limb there.
Yeah. Well, it definitely makes for a lot of good stories in comic books, as you can imagine. So.
Oh yes.
But yeah. Since we've been able to keep going with the story, we are trying to get deeper into the characters, making them more interesting as we go along. Before, I mean, in all honesty, we really probably didn't think we'd get as far as we have with the book so far, being that it's an independent superhero. It's just, they're hard to sell out there. But I think we're thriving pretty well with him. every show that we take him to, he seems to be looked at, and people pick it up. We sell. We've been selling online, and I've actually got a couple of local stores in my area to start stocking the book. So that's always great. But yeah, he's moving strong.
Right. I don't know if I asked you this the first time you guys were on, but it's been a while. So have you noticed, like you just said it, you hinted on independent superheroes. Like a lot of independent comics are horror or sci-fi. You guys did a superhero. Do you find it's harder to sell it? And what are some of the maybe tips and tricks you have for selling an independent superhero?
I don't know if there's any tips or tricks that I can give other than just make him appealing and lots of bright colors. I mean, the pictures sell. We've got an amazing art team. I mean, AJ and Ravel, they really just, they throw it together in such a way that it's just easy to look at everything about the book. But yeah, selling a superhero book compared to, like you said, whenever it comes to independence, you're thinking more horror or something crime or anything off the wall, sci-fi, things like that. Superheroes, there's a lot of indie superheroes out there, but they don't amount to very much unless, maybe some of the image superheroes out there and stuff. But, for instance, I was just at the Cedar Rapids Comic Con in Iowa, and it was the first con that we'd taken Acts of Contrition to, which is our graphic novel, and it's more of a crime noir type of story. And we sold more of that at that show than we did a Freedom Fighter, I believe. And it was just what people tend to lean toward. I mean, I don't know if that says something about the time we're living in or not, but, people really seem to go toward that type of book more than what a superhero book would be.
Right.
Do you think it's also because there are so many? I mean, we are in kind of a golden age of independent superhero comics where, you can do self-publishing, you can do Kickstarter, you can do all this stuff to get it off the ground now that you couldn't do before. You had to be picked up by one of the big 2 or 4 or whatever. But now that there's so much competition, because I see this in novels too, in books on Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
All these guys who are self-publishing. So now you have this huge explosion of like, say, in my case, urban fantasy, which I love. But then you've got all this stuff to dig through to get to the good stuff. And so you're probably, I guess, could you say that you're fighting upstream in the fact that there's so many other people out there doing the same thing, and that's why your other graphic novel actually sold, is because it's different. It's not in that genre. It's in a genre that there's much less competition and more people are interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is exactly true. There are a lot of them out there, but also, like you said, a lot of these superhero stories, I think most of them get their base from Kickstarter, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. And I support several Kickstarters, and I've been ripped off by a couple Kickstarters too. But, Kickstarter is kind of funny because they get their book out there, but once they have it all done, they've collected the money and they've handed out their prizes. It's rarely, I mean, there are some out there that keep going with it, but rarely do they actually continue with the story. They get the issue 1 out, and then maybe 5 years later they'll do issue 2 or whatever. I guess one of the things we've been doing is just continuing to put out the story, over and over again. And, so, it just doesn't quit. People don't have to wait, and they can't forget about it as easily. Okay.
Is that the reason they only get usually 1 out is because they get sand to put them out and they realize how hard it was?
Yeah, maybe. It is kind of hard. But, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to bash the Kickstarter guys or anything. It's just, it is a lot of work, and it probably does turn off a lot of people. And, whenever they realize how much work it is and such little reward financially, because there's no money in comics really. So I can see why a lot of people kind of give up after they put their first book out.
Yeah. And to cap my original statement, you get a lot of bad stuff coming out, and the Kickstarters that die out and the ones that cheat and all that, but you are still getting some really good stuff coming out that you would not have otherwise gotten with the old model, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Having all the extra indie publishers out there, I mean, that helps a lot too.
So, what do you think it is that has driven you to keep going? Since you did say a lot of people do give up.
It's the money, right? It's the money.
I don't know. It's just stubbornness is all I can say. It really is. I don't want to give up. I don't want to quit. And I like, like AJ said, we like our character, and we have like an end game for him, and that's what we're heading toward. And it's just going to be really cool to reach that point.
Cool.
I think the cool thing is about Freedom Fighter by himself, is that what we have planned and the direction we're going is like nothing like the beginning. Like we have to get there. And the way it's looking is like the first, 10 novels or so is going to be more like an origins collection. And then after that, it's probably going to be like a completely different story. And we're really excited to see where it goes. We're just learning little by little and getting better at it. And like, even right now we were just looking over some pages, and it's just incredible how everything's coming together. And like, I draw really fast. I don't put a lot of stock into making the pencils perfect, because Ravel's really good at taking what I give him, and he just goes off on his own. He's a completely, he's like a standalone artist that can just he can take something and really make it his own. And he does really good work. So what we do is I just burn out pages. I crank them out, and then he turns around and cranks them out, and then Michael letters them, and we look at them, and every issue just keeps looking better and better. Yeah,
and like you said just now, we're still learning really. And the pages that he's talking about, I just sent to him a little bit ago. It's like, wow, even I was impressed with what we had accomplished and how much the pages have grown from like the first issue. The art's just looking so much better. The story's flowing so much better. It looks super professional.
Cool. So, and then of course you also mentioned you have, Acts of Contrition out, and, it's a more of a noir, you said. What's the, what's the elevator pitch for that one?
Well, this one's completely different tangent from Freedom Fighter, obviously. It's for mature readers. It's, basically, mob enforcer, Deathly Daryl Malone is dying from lung cancer, and he's done a lot of bad things in his lifetime. An angel visits him and says that, hey, if you do some things for me, I'll help you out in the long run, or gives him that impression. And Daryl agrees, and as he goes along, he's realizing that the angel kind of has his own little vendetta, and Daryl's doing a lot of dirty work for him, he's just the angels aren't exactly what they say they are. And, that's more or less the premise of it. But, they're searching for, someone that is, believed dead. And, it's a really twisted story.
I noticed looking over the art, looking over the book, that you sent me, you went with a black and white, for this versus the colors, from Freedom Fighter. Was that, was that choice made because to separate it from Freedom Fighter, or is this because that's the tone you're going for in the book? Because I think it works well for the story, the tone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tone we were going for, really. I wrote this story as a novel, several times, and it never really hooked me the way that I wanted it to. And, AJ and I had talked about it several times, and I put together a short script and sent it to him and asked him if he'd draw it up and see what it looks like. And, I think it was just the first 10 pages. And as soon as he sent them over, it was just like, wow, that puts the feeling into this book that I was looking for. And from that point on, it's like, forget the novel. We'll just do a graphic novel because it's going to just look so much better. And, maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong, but I think it turned out to be just an amazing looking book.
Right.
It was a fun learning experience. That book is just one big experiment. Like we both were just like, okay, let's switch this and let's look at this and let's add some color here and let's, see where this character goes. And it was really nice. It was, and looking at it now, the quality of the print book came out really well. And it was, a few minor mistakes here and there, but overall, like we were really pleased, really happy about how it came out. I love the addition of how the comics put together in the back.
Right.
We had a little section of like, this is what the script looks like, and this is what it gets turned into, and then this is what we do to it. And I liked it all. Really proud of that book.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a heathen, so I bought it electronically, and
yes.
It looks good. It's a long one too. 150 pages, is it? Or
I think it's actually 160 some.
Jeez.
168.
Oh, well, it's a good deal. Not as much, but it looks good electronically too. I mean, the black and white and the way the expressions on the people's faces are shaded is nice. I wish I knew more about that. I could like compliment it properly, but again, heathen. It looks good. I like it.
So I'm going to ask the obvious question here. Was Cindy a inspiration for some of the art?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Next question.
You get to the one page and the only thing colored is the girl's dress, so she stands out.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. No, I mean, it works. It works well for the story, so, well done.
We really had to fight the urge to give him a red tie and go the spirit.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a really good book, and people should be checking it, definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we were happy the way that it turned out, but it was another learning experience. It was something that we had never really, I've never really delved into doing a black and white book or even a noir style crime story like that. It was a lot darker to write, of course, too, than some of the other stuff that we wrote, because, there's killing and there's cursing and, just some deep emotions that the characters go through in the story. So, it kind of had to go to a different place just to get the book finished,
I have a weird question, and I have no idea what the answer is. So this may not be an issue or what, but I know we've interviewed other people that have done books, based on religion. This is based on an angel, and they've caught a little bit of flack when they're like, selling it at booths at a Comic-Con. So when you did this, have you seen, is that like a consideration? Like, okay, we're going to portray an angel, but we're going to portray him as like, doing something not angelish, and you might catch flack from some weird, sect or whatever, or people might email you. Is any of that a consideration?
It's definitely crossed my mind, cause I am a Christian actually. So a lot of this, was kind of like on the edge of what some of the beliefs would be. It's just a story though.
Yeah.
And, if you read to the end of the book, it really does have, a little bit of a meaningful ending. It has as good of an ending as it can possibly have, but that's kind of like real life, it's not always going to be all, roses and daisies. It's going to be just as good as you can get it. And that's all you can hope for.
Yeah.
But as far as people, saying, hey, like for the cover, we got a cross with blood splatter all over it, I had wondered if people would say something like, hey, that's just not cool, or, but to each their own, I guess, everybody kind of worships in their own way, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody was going to catch flack, it'd be Lucifer on TV, because, portraying the devil as a likable, effeminate, Englishman is like,
that's true.
So, but I again, like I've heard, stories from other people, and, I like you said, it's a story, so it shouldn't offend people just like stories and, but
I mean, it's not a weird question at all. Like you were saying, it's actually, it was crossing my mind quite a bit. It's like, hey, is this kind of like against my beliefs to write this? Just slightly in my head, but again, it is just a story. And, I don't want to spoil it, but the angels aren't exactly what they seem. So there you go.
I think we probably got more flack with Freedom Fighter.
Oh, really? What kind of flack do you get from Freedom Fighter?
Oh man, like
Captain America ripoff.
Yeah, that's Captain America. Or he looks like Superman, or the bad guy is not bad enough, or we got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of we went through a lot of controversy with that, as far as like everybody was just like, this is poorly written, this is poorly drawn, this is poorly put together, what are you guys doing? And we were just like, sweet, we made a comic. And like, it was pretty awesome.
We were very proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, now you got me interested. Like, what's the weirdest, say, compliment and the weirdest critique that you've gotten so far?
Weirdest compliment.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We might have to come back to that one. That one's tough. We've got the critiques that I've heard, just saying that he looked like Captain America on Freedom Fighter. Sure, he's a patriotic superhero created by the government, but that's just about, that's as far as it goes. But of course, there you go. That's Captain America, right?
Yeah,
but,
superficially.
Yeah. Gosh, weirdest compliment though. I don't know.
All right. Well, if you think of one, I'm just wondering because based on what you're saying, and now that I'm thinking about it, that could be a thing, you were saying like they didn't like your villain because he wasn't villainous enough. I mean, that's kind of
one thing that comes to mind that I always thought was a little frustrating for me because you can't argue with a reviewer, but we did get a review once, and I think this was a long time ago when we first released issue 1. And,
it was our first review. That's right.
Yeah. And the reviewer had said that, he thought it was nuts because the fourth quarter, which is the secret laboratory that the Freedom Fighter was created in, it's kind of like an Area 51 type of area. It's there, but you don't really know what's going on there. And the reviewer had a big problem with that and said that he didn't understand if this was a secret laboratory, why in the first scene did we have, reporters in like the lobby area and the laboratory area, checking the place out. And to me, it irritated me just because if you read the story, it kind of explains that, the guys, they were in there appeasing the public and saying, hey, we're showing you the inside of this place just to make you happy, but we're not going to tell you everything we're doing,
the first quarter is still sort of a symbol for, the government and the front that they have to put up, for the things that are really going on that they have to hide.
Right. Well, that's kind of like getting mad at Batman comics because, people visit the Wayne Manor and yet they still don't know about the Batcave because it's supposed to be secret.
Right. Well, again, he's entitled to his opinion. We unfortunately had to write about it. So.
Yeah, but it is frustrating that something that is explained in the book, he complains about. So obviously he read the first few pages and then judged the whole book based on.
It's a possibility, we never actually spoke to the guy, so kind of figured it'd be in poor taste to write to him and say, hey, who do you think you are,
I think that when that review released, issue 1 was the only one released at the time, and we were thinking like, well, it'll be different when issue 2 is released because then more will be explained. Because in issue 1, they talk about the injection process, which is just like Captain America. It just doesn't go into what gets injected and what it's all about. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really show anything. It just kind of like shows I think in the first issue before we revised it, it was a needle. And that, that right there, he probably rolled his eyes and I probably would have too. But, we're on issue 5 now and we decided to do the whole bonus story at the end of the books, which I love because it brings a whole different story being told in parts. Kind of like we had a discussion about how we were going to continue. And, we were both thinking we want to do like a revamp or a rebirth or without an actual rebirth. Cause I know that's like a sensitive word in our industry, but, we're thinking we want to change everything. So what we decided was we're going to treat, these like season finales, like you would on a show and have a climactic event where everything does change and it's okay. Just like in real life, we go through a transition.
What you should have done is, taken the first 4 issues, done a collected, book of the first 4 issues, and then taking that review, right?
Yeah.
And then put it in there, like, we're so proud our first ever review but only put the first paragraph in, and then change his name or something, or misspell his name at the end.
Yeah, that would be fun. We are collecting the first 4 issues into a trade, by the way. I think I just saw it pop up on the Insane Comics schedule for July. So that'll be out, and that's going to have a lot of bonus material in the backup, which is kind of cool. We put together a lot of alternate versions of the Freedom Fighter just for fun, and one of them, he kind of got his own story in the bonus pages of issue 5 and 6 and 7, so it's all pretty cool.
Right.
That was a lot of fun. We got a bunch of different artists to draw their own versions of Freedom Fighter from different time eras, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool seeing that.
So, you did just mention that the book is out through Insane Comics right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we first spoke, it was out through a different company, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Do we?
I don't know.
Do we not want to talk about that, guys?
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
I think enough time has passed.
Yeah.
They just need to go in a different direction, and they're now putting out stories of their own. They decided to veer away from publishing and move towards content creation, which, we both understood. They were.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, they had less time to create, and they were spent all their time running conventions and managing other people's comics. So they were just, like, well, we want to make comics too, so we're going to make comics, and that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole situation was really whacked whenever it happened. Whenever they called and said that, they were dropping everybody, it was just like, did he just tell me this, And, the more it settled in, the more it was really frustrating because, we had done a lot of work based on the fact that they were going to continue to publish the book. And, for no reason whatsoever, everybody was just, tossed to the side. And, the only explanation was that, they wanted to do their own thing. And, all that said, everything's fine now. In fact, me and AJ, we went to C2E2, what was it, last year? Yeah, it was
That's
just
right.
last year. And, we were walking through our hotel lobby, and there he was, the chief of the other publishing company right there, standing there. And, he recognizes, we all just stood around and had a little chat. So it was kind of awkward and cool at the same time,
Right. So how did you guys then get hooked up with Insane?
More or less, we just, after we got dropped and all the legal crap was finished up where it said, okay, we can actively seek another publisher. That's what we did. And they were one of the first publishers we ran across, and they were new. And, we were, I don't know, really, we were kind of in a desperate state, because here we were trying to pitch another superhero, an independent superhero to another publishing company. And now we had this little stain of, oh, you've been dropped by another publisher and nobody really cares why. It's just, you have been dropped, So James Munch, the CEO of Insane, I wrote to him and just more or less wrote him a really long letter. I'm surprised he even read, and told him what was going on. And he wrote back and said, yeah, he'll take a look. And then the next day he wrote back and said, so if that other publisher is completely out of the way, yeah, let's do this. So that's all of it. That's how it happened.
And he's been awesome. Like, Insane is phenomenal. And they're even, like, it's getting so big that they're getting close to being a small press. They're it's exponential growth. Like, these guys are crazy. And he's got so many titles coming out every, 3 months. We're adding new titles, and
it's just really crazy.
Yeah, no, I've met the guys at a couple of the cons. Yeah, they do just keep seeming to be getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, they actually just signed a deal with Imagination Park Entertainment, which is it's a production company that makes proof of concepts for stories, to go into into like movies or TV or made for TV movies and things like that. And I don't know the specifics of anything else other than they're looking at a lot of different titles that Insane is publishing. So more on that later, I hope.
Cool. So here's a question then. If Acts of Contrition got turned into a movie, And with you being a Christian, would you be like Kevin Smith and would you go to the protest against your own movie?
I don't know. No, I'm probably not. Couldn't do that. There's probably some kind of contractual obligation to stay away from things like that, right?
You would think.
Yeah.
If you've never seen it, you can find it on YouTube. It's when Dogma came out, and when it was playing in his hometown, the Catholic League there had gotten together and said they were going to protest it, but yet only like 10 people showed up, and he decided to go down and join them. And the local news came by to cover it, and they recognized him, but he kept saying, "Oh no, I get mistaken for him all the time." Yeah, but they knew who it was. Yeah, and like even on the story on the news, they're like, "Yeah, we're pretty sure it was him."
Yeah, I do. I don't remember that story, but I do remember Dogma catching a lot of flack for the stuff that they portrayed in that movie. But again, I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was funny as heck. It's just nonsense.
Right.
And there's they build off of some scripture, I'm sure somewhere, but they just had fun with it, and I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. God has to have a sense of humor.
I believe he does. He's got us down here, man.
Well, if you can't find humor in just anything, it's your life's going to be not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't laugh at yourself, but I'm telling you, because I'm going through your news story here, and it's they can't really Acts of Contrition. You can't really laugh at that one.
There aren't a lot of humorous spots in that one.
Oh, okay. I haven't gotten into yet, because right now what I'm seeing is you've put the graphic in graphic novel, so it's
that was the whole point. We wanted a visual aspect to add to the story.
Well, where did you get the idea for this? Because I know a few places, like you've got kind of weird stuff like Constantine and such, and some other weird comics that have things like that in it, like what is it, Hellboy? But so what's the Bad Angel vibe? Where'd you get that?
Well, I've had that story brewing for years. Oh my gosh, it's been over 10 years, I know, because I was much, much younger. And anyway, I don't remember how I really came up with it. It's just this idea, when you're growing up, when you're much younger and you're thinking, man, I don't know, see a lot of people struggling. And the idea probably stemmed from the thought that, if somebody came to them and just told them that they were an angel, whether they were or not, what would that person do? Would they really change anything about their life if the angel said, hey, or the person saying that they're an angel said, hey, if you just do this, your life's going to be better? Would they listen to a person saying, I'm an angel doing this, or would they just, wave them off or whatever? And I think it really would take somebody in a desperate situation. A lot of people today would probably just say, that guy's a quack, he thinks he's got wings or something, but I think that's where the story really kind of came from, just wondering how people would react, and I built a story from it.
Old ideas are usually the best. You give them time to percolate.
Yeah, and it's a completely different story than what I first wrote. It really is, and I look back on the actual novel part. I actually finished the novel before we started working with AJ on the graphic novel, and it is a completely different story, mostly because I had to chop so much of it out just so that way it would fit in a decent sized graphic novel. Because there's more words in a real novel, and I think if we get the chance, we're going to go ahead and make a second volume to the book to kind of add all this other stuff back in and have the story make a lot more sense in the long run.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you'll work on both books together, because I know you still got more with the hero side. So
yeah,
we're staying busy.
Yeah, we stay very busy.
So AJ,
Yes.
How do you react when Mike comes to you with an idea like this and it ends up being, 160 plus pages?
Oh man, I was really excited, and I was like, oh, I want to try a new style, and I'm not proficient yet. I'm still, I want to say back in, a decade ago when I begged Mike for a job, I didn't even know what kind of paper you used to be. I just knew I wanted to be a comic book artist because I grew up reading like Spider-Man and X-Men. So I just I got it in my head that that's what I wanted to do. And I'm very stubborn and I don't give up. I'm like Ernest. I don't know when to quit. So, I kept doing research and kept learning. And before, 7 years later, we finally get the first issue of Freedom Fighter put together. And then he's like, a little while later, he came to me with Axe and he's like, I think I've got, 3 issues here written and I think we're going to go up to about 6 or 7. And, I started drawing the first issue and he kept writing. And then when he finished the script, he turned it in. I think we did the whole book in about 3 or 4 months.
Wow. Yeah, it went pretty quick.
That's amazing.
We had no idea how long it was going to be, I think, whenever I first started writing it. It was a 100,000 word novel before. So, it really squished into something.
And did
it just
Mike
kept going faster. I think at one point I was doing like 12 pages a day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you can see it in the pages. They're not perfect, but the thing about that style is that I feel like it
added to the story.
It captures the quick sketch feel, the mood. So like a character might be eating too much, but you really feel the movement.
Right, exactly. So, Mike, did AJ really have to beg for a job?
No. Honest to God, I don't remember the first time that AJ and I discussed working on a comic book. I don't. Do you?
Yeah, I'll have to send you the email.
Oh, do you? You got the email. Oh, wow.
He saved it just in case. Right?
What were we dealing with, man? Do you remember?
I just remember, seeing that you were an accomplished novelist and you had put up this blog post that you wanted to work on comics, and I was, hitting up like Top Cow and Marvel and DC, and they were laughing at me, and I just went to Mike and was just like, hey, whatever you have, I'll work on it. You don't even have to pay me. I just want to work in comics, please. And he's like, sure, man. And he sent me some script of the Freedom Fighter, and he's like, can you design this? And I, he was like, I was thinking, something kind of superhero-y and light and fun, and came back at him like, hey, look, man, I mixed Batman and the Predator and Inspector Gadget. And he's like,
That's pretty much how it went, ain't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Just having fun with it.
It was Freedom Fighter that we first started working on, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. I feel like I just thought there was another project because there were a couple more that I was involved with and I didn't know what it was. Yeah, you had to send me that email. That'll be fun.
Yeah, there almost was another hero. I don't know if you want to say his name, but
that one's in limbo. We got to let that one hang.
But it was a toss up, and Freedom Fighter was kind of more put together, I think. So that's where we went, and now we're I'm on the last like 3 or 4 pages of issue 9, and we're going strong.
That's awesome. And there's something else to include in the collected edition. The first
right.
email.
That's right.
There you go.
Cool. So, go ahead, John.
I was thinking if we've run that line of conversation out, I'd like to know how much they're looking forward to the next Jessica Jones season.
I haven't even watched Jessica Jones yet. Smack me, but honestly, we just finished watching Daredevil just a couple months ago because the way me and my wife work, it's like she picks a show that we watch a series for, and then I pick a show. So we just finished The Royals, or The Crown. The Crown, that's what it is.
Okay.
It was a royal, so I get to pick a new show. So I think it's, do I gotta watch Luke Cage first? I know there's an order that you're supposed to watch him in. I'm sure there is.
Yeah, Luke Cage, I think, would go first. That way you get introduced. Well, you'd know who he is. Actually, no, you know what? What is it? I think it's Jessica Jones season 1, then Luke Cage.
Okay. Well, I already watched the second season of Daredevil too, so I'm probably all messed up.
There needs to be a list.
I'm thinking about just skipping to the Punisher.
I'm sure there is a list somewhere. Somewhere somebody's made a list.
Yeah.
And then they came up with, what was it? They had that list of how to watch the Star Wars movies in a different order to make it make sense.
Yeah. Good luck with that one.
I always just skip Phantom Menace until the Darth Maul scene and then go straight to Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That's about right.
I don't know. For me, sometimes I think I like all the Star Wars movies, but all the other ones are just extensions, and the real story ended in '89. So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So what else? What other? Do you watch any of the Marvel movies or anything, or have you?
Oh yeah, yeah, way up to date on those.
Oh, wait, what do you think? Can I ask about?
Are you still there?
Yeah. I just see the truck go by.
Sounded like you got in the truck and left. What was the question?
Yeah, Black Panther. Did you see that?
Oh yeah. We saw that opening night. Me and my son went to watch it, and I thought it was great. It's not my favorite Marvel movie, but it was awesome. It's in my top 5 at least.
Oh, cool. So what was your favorite thing? Because I'm getting the feeling like when I think back on it, Black Panther was probably the best put together movie, as our other co-host JD has said, and it was good. I mean, everything seemed right. There was no huge plot holes. Everybody's chemistry was great, whatever. But it's still not my favorite. And I've gotten the feeling that if you don't say it's your favorite, you get mobbed.
Yeah, you get that feeling on Facebook a little bit or something, But, my favorite was the first Iron Man movie, where it all started. I just feel like, I don't know, maybe it's because we waited so long for a good Marvel movie, and they built up to, with all the trailers for that movie. I remember watching the trailers and thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. Seeing the Mark I and all that, the way they had it made to look like really a tin can, and the way that they used, the war in Afghanistan or Iraq, I don't know which one it was that he was in, but instead of was it the Vietnam War that Tony Stark was involved in, or was it Korea? I can't remember.
It was Vietnam.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Originally, it was Vietnam.
Well, anyway, I thought they really did a great job adapting it for the modern age, and I just thought it was awesome. It's probably always going to stay my favorite. But yeah, the Black Panther, I thought it was great. I can't think of any plot holes, like you said. It was all put together, and the characters were all good. And one thing I'm really glad that they didn't do is just try really hard to make it funny. We went to see the Thor Ragnarok, and I don't know, just all the forced comedy in that was a little bit of a letdown for me. I mean, it was still pretty awesome, but it seemed like with all the greatness that came out of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where they were putting in all the comedy and the fun parts, and I feel like they just tried to put that in other movies, and it didn't go over well with me.
Yeah, it's hard to top Tony Stark's natural humorous, the way he acts. What about you, AJ? What's your favorite?
Oh man, I haven't seen Black Panther yet, but I did read the Time magazine. Right, that's awesome. That lead actor, I don't even know his name. He made it on Time magazine cover.
Chadwick
killer.
Yeah,
killer article. Like it was just, I don't know. I just love that they're filming out in Africa, and they're like bringing eyes out there to bring the public's attention to some of the things that are going on out there.
Right.
That just aren't right. The media avoids. But I liked Blade.
Wow.
Okay, so
really
back
movie,
to Mike
right?
then.
Gonna go really old school, huh?
Blade was good. Blade was good.
First Class was pretty good. I liked what they did with First Class, and that actually made me look at the English X-Men. I don't know. Logan was pretty good too. I really like that they brought out X23. Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. because my best friend, his daughter he's a huge Wolverine fan, and we have this argument going that I feel like, Spider-Man could beat Wolverine, and they've never had a rematch. So that was always my thing, was like, I'm going to, grow up and draw comics and go straight to Stan Lee and be like, I'm going to need to do this rematch. And and his daughter is a little like clone of him, so she loves Wolverine. So when they came out with X-23, she was stoked. And then we had this movie and they had to go see it together. And it was just really cool to, you see like 2 or 3 generations of people getting together and being excited about the same thing.
So here's a question, right? I don't know if you guys have heard the news. They moved Infinity War up a week.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being the first week of May, it's the last week of April. And when they made the announcement on Twitter, it was a conversation that was going back and forth, and someone said, "How about you release it early?" And whoever runs the Marvel Twitter had replied, "That's a fantastic idea," and "fantastic" is in all capital letters.
Nice.
Which has led many people to speculate they're hinting at a Fantastic Four cameo in Infinity. What do you guys think about that?
Didn't like Fox give the rights for that to happen?
Well, that's
Sony.
Well, the whole thing is, the whole thing is like Sony had Spider-Man and they're working together. That's how Spidey got back in the universe. Fantastic Four was owned by Fox, which Disney has now bought, but they're saying it's going to be a year and a half before it's all finalized. My speculation, this is complete speculation on my part, is, okay, maybe that's going on, but how do we know they didn't make a side deal with Fox to get the rights back before they tried to buy them?
Right.
Are you thinking maybe the Fantastic Four are going to be in Infinity War, the first part?
Right, or at least maybe a bumper, one of the bumper scenes at the
That's possible, but I think, well, I mean, it depends on how they make them, I guess. It's going to be hard to say all of a sudden we've injected Reed Richards into New York City and why haven't we ever heard from him before? But, it could work.
It's an origin story they're going to put inside the Infinity War.
Probably.
Obviously, he got married to Jessica Alba and had a really long honeymoon. Obviously.
There's
just going to ignore the other one, huh?
There's actually a recent story from the Black. Dr. Doom ends up taking over Wakanda, and his sister Shuri, her name I don't remember, from the movie, she ends up becoming the Black Panther to fight Dr. Doom to take Wakanda back because her brother is busy somewhere else. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, that would be a really cool way to bring Dr. Doom and continue the Black Panther stuff."
That would be.
That would be fantastic.
Yes, see, there you go.
It could just be a word, too.
Yes.
It could be that he's just a fan of the Ninth Doctor. So,
right?
Because that I know. I'll take things only I know for $800. That was one of his catchphrases for the Ninth Doctor Who was he would say fantastic. So anyway,
okay.
I'll give you that, but also I also like to point out that when they made the deal with Sony for Spider-Man, Feige said, "Oh yeah, we made this deal, but it's going to be a while before we see him." And then all of a sudden, he was in Civil War a few months later. So there's more going on than they let us know.
That's right.
Kind of like the government in Freedom Fighter.
That's right.
Nice segue.
Well played.
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys did say you're in the 9th issue now.
Yeah. Actually, the 9th issue, the 9th issue is being colored now.
Oh, okay.
I think, AJ, you do have 3 more pages to pencil. It's going to come together pretty quick.
Cool. And then what's the release schedule like for that?
Issue 6 comes out on March 12th. It's sometime this month. And then won't see issue 7 until probably September,
June,
I'm afraid. Right? I'm sorry?
June? You said
no,
May or
it's
June,
actually going to be September, I'm just speculating September. I actually spoke to James about it today because I didn't see it in the schedule. he said that he's going to release the trade for issues 1 through 4 in July before he releases issue 7. So, to see the climax of this Death by Allegiance story, you have to wait a little bit.
Okay.
But it will be out before the end of the year, I'm sure.
Right. Okay, cool. And where can people buy the book?
InsaneComics.com. They got a great store. You can buy it digitally, or they can buy it in print, obviously. Also, Freedom Fighter is available on Comixology, and before long, Acts of Contrition will be available on Comixology also. Of course, it's just still going through the whole process, I guess, where they download it and vet it, and I don't know what they do, but they haven't got it up there yet.
I just bought it. I just bought it off of there. So
on Comixology?
Yeah. I'm reading it now.
Oh, okay.
While we're doing the interview, because I like to be prepared. Yeah. I just bought it. If you have
Okay,
an
well,
Amazon
then
account,
Acts of Contrition is also available on Comixology.
Cool.
I haven't got that memo yet.
No. Well, I'm glad to have breaking news. Hey, breaking news! We can flash the breaking news finally.
This is big news.
So, is there going to be more Acts of Contrition? Is there do you have a whole? I mean, you've had that idea for a while. You said so. Do you have a story arc for that?
Yeah, I actually do, and it's yet to be written because we're working a lot of Freedom Fighter, and it's hard to write a dark, grueling story while I'm trying to write Freedom Fighter. They don't interlap very well. But it's definitely something that's going to be put together, and hopefully we'll have something out there. Who knows? Maybe early next year. I don't know. We'll just see how it all pans out.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And you had said you were just came from a con. Are you guys doing any more cons?
Oh
year?
yeah. We were just in Iowa at the Cedar Rapids Comic Con, but this weekend I'll be at the Lexington Comic Con in Kentucky. That's in Lexington, and then at the end of the month, I think it's March 30th, I'll be at the Indianapolis Comic Con. In Indianapolis, and then C2E2 is the following weekend, so we'll be up there again. So in Chicago. Yep.
Staying busy.
Doing a lot of running around.
What was that, AJ?
I said staying busy.
Staying busy.
We don't have anything to do. We make a bunch of stuff to do.
Yeah,
we lead adventurous lives.
and that's always a balance, isn't it? Going to cons and promoting your stuff while at the same time people asking you, well, when's the next one coming out? Well, I'm here now signing this for you, so
yeah.
After.
It is hard to write and promote at the same time. It really is. You can't stay focused. At some points, if I disappear from Facebook, not posting, hey, buy Freedom Fighter, buy Acts of Contrition, it's because I'm writing something, and you just can't do both at the same time. It's nearly impossible.
Yeah, but it's understandable.
I'm the same way. I'm always drawing. I think I want to say 7 different titles in the last 2 years.
Wow. What other titles have you done besides?
Let's see. There's Freedom Fighter and Axe, and there's Strength Monsters, and there's Dark Gray, and right now I'm working on a new book that won't be out for a little while. I think October is our target date. It's called Chronicles of Mayon, and I'm going to school now to learn how to draw, kind of doing it backwards. So things are gonna start looking different.
You gotta love this industry.
Yeah. Are most of those, AJ, most of those available in Comixology or whatever?
No, Strength Monsters is a self-published book by a guy named Sam Crescent, and he has his own comic book company called The World's Deadliest, and he has retained the best title in the world of World's Deadliest Comic Book Artist.
Yeah.
And this guy is crazy. He does, I think he's an practicing acupuncturist. He runs a gym and wrestles and fights.
Yeah, he does judo or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, he's insane. And he's he's not a super huge guy either. You would never know it because he's nice, he's smiley, he's under 6 feet, not super intimidating, but then you go to his YouTube channel, he's doing like flying arm bars and stuff, and it's just
But buy my comic or else.
yeah, he's super into like the old school comics and wrestling, like old school wrestling, like luchador wrestling. So it's really cool because when I do the research for these books, it's all real people and real events, and it's all about a monster. His name is Rocking, and he has an evil robot sidekick that can transform and is his ride and his, partner in crime. So that comic's all about their adventures, and I think the first one was this evil villain called Burrito Man, who is a giant burrito, came to San Diego to win a wrestling match and take over like the local taco shop scene. And so they go to fight for their local taco shop, and they fight the evil Burrito Man in a wrestling match / burrito eating competition. So there's some cannibalism in there too. It's crazy.
Was Burrito Man's secret kryptonite a bottle of Pepto?
He doesn't seem to have a weakness. It's crazy. But we did say that we're thinking about doing a Burrito Man Origins where he talks about his mom being a flour tortilla and his dad canopy.
It sounds like a tick origin story.
Oh man,
sounds great.
I picked that up. I picked that title up because it was just super original and like Rocking the monster. He doesn't have a mouth. He just has giant teeth, and they're like on the outside of his face. And so you see him like eating, but he's always got his head turned. And then when he does open his mouth, he like kills people with it. Like when he opens his mouth, your body deteriorates and you die. So we never show the inside of his mouth, and that's always like a big secret. It's just a lot of fun.
I saw a crossover, Freedom Fighter versus Burrito Man.
Yeah, no,
Oh man, that would be something.
You can call it the Hunger Games.
There you go. There you go.
No reviewers could pick on that title.
No.
Hey, you mentioned the tick, and you also did that voice whenever he first called in. I was just wondering, I guess you watched it. What do you think about it?
Oh man, I used to watch the cartoon originally, and from the cartoon I graduated to the actual comic itself, and those were amazing and crazy and weird and just awesome. And then they had that original TV series come out. And I was like so hyped for it. And when I saw the first few episodes, I was like, "Oh God, they've destroyed it," because it was all bathroom humor and basically sex jokes and stuff. And
you're talking about the one with Patrick Warburton.
Yeah, but Patrick Warburton was a perfect tick.
Sure.
It wasn't his fault. It was the writers. And now this one is so true to it, and it's perfect. I love it.
I loved it. I thought it was great too. It was perfect. It was freaky and it was just funny and cool all around. And the first couple episodes, I wondered, is it okay? But as it kept going, I liked it a lot. I didn't like the way they only released 6 episodes and then waited forever to release the final 6. But there you go. That's the new way we watch TV, I guess.
Yeah, that was cheap, but then again, I think they've guaranteed a second season, which I'll take.
Yeah, it was great.
John, what would the Terror say about the way we watch TV now?
Kind of sucks, I mean, really, you just gotta stop getting off the boob tube and start doing evil, because evil's where it's at these days.
That's perfect. Who's the guy that plays the Terror?
Oh man, it's the director, I think, wasn't it?
Oh really?
That's kind of awesome.
Now I have to go.
Now he's going to the Googles.
Yeah. I am the research person here, right?
You like to think that, yes.
I like, yeah. Well, that's what you keep telling me, but I don't get paid, so it doesn't matter. All right, yeah. It's Peter. No. Oh man, it's not saying. Where is it? Oh, the Terror. Jackie. Oh yeah, Jackie Earl Haley.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of weird stuff. He was in Preacher.
He was in The Watchmen.
Yeah, and The Human Target. Oh, that's right. He was in The Human Target too, the TV series from a while back, and in the new RoboCop, the other thing. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you got his voice nailed, man.
Yeah, it took a little bit of laryngitis.
Yeah.
and I'd run out of Ludens. So yeah, oh man. So yeah, thanks. But yeah, I'm glad that they did I'm glad that they did this, and I love the first episode, and after that, it's just the personalities they put in there are just perfect.
Yeah.
The Tick is still nigh invulnerable and completely oblivious.
Yes. Cool. All right. So, gentlemen, we are getting near the end here. So I'm going to ask the question I normally end up and start with AJ, since you didn't get to say too much this episode.
All right.
And the question is, how do you measure success?
There's a quote. There's a quote. I am successful because I'm doing what I love. I might not be rich and have a expensive car just yet, but I'm doing what I love. I wake up, I fail fast and I fail hard and I get right back up and right back to it. And once you learn to get past that fear of failure, there's just no limits. So I'm trying new things every day, and there's all these opportunities, and I've gone around for the last 10 years just dipping my toes in every kind of water there is known to man, and I think I'm finally getting the hang of some of this stuff, and it feels good. It feels good to look back and say, yeah, I did that, and yeah, I did that, and yes, I'm going to do that. And I think as long as you're waking up in the morning and you have allocated enough of your past to be able to put into your present day, if that makes any sense, then you're doing all right.
Cool. I like that answer.
Yeah, I do too.
Go ahead and top it now.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Now you type it.
Totally sinks mine. But, yeah, I mean, he really hit the nail on the head, because I think really a measure of success just comes from happiness. I mean, you can tell by the size of a guy's smile, whether they're really doing well, because you could be the guy that shovels the sludge off the streets, after a flood, but as long as you're happy doing that, then you're successful, so I think anybody can be successful doing anything as long as you're happy.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's not as good as AJ's.
No, you guys both gave wonderful answers to that, and I think they're both great philosophies to live by. Cool. Yeah. And so also, again, to wrap this up a little bit here, where can people find you on the social medias?
Facebook. Gosh, I don't know what any of my handles are on any of that. I think on Twitter I'm MD Heitkemper, or at MD Heitkemper, and then on Facebook I think it's just Michael Heitkemper. You can find me on there, and then of course the Freedom Fighter has his own Twitter account at the fourth quarter, or at the _fourth quarter. That's what it is.
He's actually more popular than we are.
Cool. And how about you, AJ?
Mine's just Ariel J. Fulcher. I'm all over everything. I just made a new ArtStation account, and critiques welcome. Hit me hard too, because I'm trying to put it all together, and I think I got way too much stuff up there right now, but it's a learning process.
Hey, if that's another great sign, I think, of just the kind of person that you are, that you want critique. Some people, they put it out there and they're just like, it's the greatest thing ever. Don't tell me otherwise. No, that's awesome.
Well, thank you. It's my first name is spelt like the Little Mermaid, ARI. What's funny is that I learned a trick when I was applying for clients. A lot of people would hire me almost instantly until they found out that I wasn't a chick or a girl.
Really?
So I learned to kind of just talk over text and email and not really insinuate my gender. and it's just really funny. Funny little side story there.
Someday you hope to be in the world up there.
That's right. It's in the future when gender really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I do. It's horrible. I show up and they're like, "Oh, you're a guy."
Oh my gosh.
I can't think of a better note to end this one on. We all are hoping for the day that gender doesn't matter. So
it takes to get a job.
So we're also hoping for the day when capes don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on that note, boys and girls, as always, thanks for listening. And don't let your cape get caught in the door. Have a good week.